wide-legged forward fold. To begin in this position, we're gonna bring our hands up to our hips and then step our feet nice and wide, about 3 or 4 feet apart, with our toes facing the front, the long side of our mat. From here, we're gonna lift up through the spine, taking an inhale, and on the exhale, bringing our chest down towards the mat, still reaching forward through the crown of the head. We're gonna take an inhale, and on the exhale, allowing our hands to come down onto the mat and releasing the crown of the head down towards the mat as well. From here, you can also walk your hands back in line with your feet if that's available for you, and bending into those elbows. Take an inhale. On the exhale, we're gonna straighten up through the arms, return our hands to our hips, and engaging the backs of the legs, slowly hinge back up into a standing position, and then bringing our feet together at the center of the mat. Now we do have a couple of variations for those who need them. So for our first one, we're gonna be using a block or a bolster to rest the crown of our head on as we come down into our forward fold. So once again, bringing our hands to our hips, stepping the feet nice and wide, 3 to 4 feet apart with the toes pointing towards the long end of the mat. We're gonna take an inhale. On the exhale, reaching the chest down towards the mat, feeling the stretch through the hamstrings, the back of the leg. Inhale, we're gonna exhale, allowing the hands to come back down onto the mat and dropping the crown of the head onto our block. Now, if you need to, you can also turn it to whatever height is gonna be comfortable for you. And once we're done here, we're gonna straighten through the arms. Inhale, taking the hands back to our hips, engaging the legs, and standing back up, bringing the feet together. That was our first variation. Our second one, we're gonna use a second block, and both are gonna go right in front of us so that we can place our hands on them. So again, hands on the hips, stepping the feet nice and wide. Inhale, bringing the spine nice and tall, lifting up through the spine. Exhale, hinging forward at the hips, and then allowing the hands to come down onto our blocks. This is going to release some of the tension on the back of the hamstrings. If someone needs this modified, they can stay right here. And then from here, we would inhale, exhale, hands come to our hips, engaging the back of the legs once again, returning to a standing position, and bringing the feet together. We have one more variation, and this one we are going to be bending through the legs as we come down into our forward fold. So we're gonna come hands on hips, stepping the feet nice and wide, putting a slight bend into the knees from here, just a slight bend. Inhale, exhale, hinging forward at the hips, coming as far as you are able to, still reaching forward through the crown of the head. Inhale, exhale, hands come down onto our mat, and then allowing the crown of the head to come down towards the mat, keeping that slight bend through the knees. Inhale, straightening through the arms, bringing the hands back onto our hips. Inhale, exhale, standing all the way back up, and bringing our feet back together. We also have 2 transitions that can get us into our wide-legged forward fold. Our first one, we are going to be starting in downward dog. So coming onto our mat, grounding through the hands and the soles of the feet, lifting the hips up and back. We're gonna be lifting our right foot towards the sky, bringing the knee in towards our chest and shifting our weight to our hands, planting the foot right between our hands at the top of the mat. From here, we're gonna turn both toes towards the long end of the mat and walk our hands to center, where we will find our forward fold, and allowing the crown of the head to come down, walking our hands back if that's comfortable, into our forward fold. Inhale, straightening up through the arms. We're gonna be walking our hands back to the short end of the mat, turning that back foot back to neutral, and turning the front foot so that the toes are pointing towards the short end of the mat. Putting our weight back into our hands, we're gonna take the right foot, send it back to meet the left, and return to downward dog. Our next transition is going to once again go through a downward dog, move into a warrior two, and then into our wide-legged forward fold, back to warrior two, and ending in a downward dog. So once again, we're grounding through the hands, tucking the toes, lifting the hips up and back. We are raising one foot up towards the sky, bringing that knee into the chest, and shifting the weight forward onto the hands, planting the foot right between the hands. Inhale, exhale, we're gonna drop the back heel onto the mat. Inhale, windmilling those arms up into our warrior two position, shifting our gaze towards our fingertips. From here, we are going to rotate the right toes towards the mat, allowing the arms to come back to our hips. Inhale, exhale, we are hinging at the hips, allowing the hands to come back down onto the mat as the crown of the head comes down towards the mat as well. Inhale, straightening up through the arms, hands come back to the hips. Slowly hinging back up. From here, we're gonna turn the right toe once again towards the short end of the mat. The arms float up into warrior two, shifting the gaze over the fingertips. Inhale, exhale, we're gonna windmill the arms back down to frame the foot, turning the back toes back to our neutral position, shifting the weight into our hands as we lift the right foot to meet the left, returning to downward dog. And that is our wide-legged forward fold.